Hello and welcome to another episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host Ijama and I thank you for joining me for this episode. This week's throwback episode is what was episode 7 of the Etsy Conversations podcast, and my guest in this episode is Michele Gallagher, and you might be familiar with her because I had Michele on again not too long ago because she's branched out and done so much more stuff since this first conversation I had with her. And Michele was the very first Etsy consulting business owner I knew, and I was so excited to have her on the podcast. And I remember her episode got just a really good response because I think not too many people who were listening to the podcast knew that there were Etsy consultants out there. The great thing is Michele is still doing her Etsy consulting and she's branched out. She now does the Handmade newsletter as well, and she still sells on Etsy, and that's what she started off doing. Her Etsy shop is Jam Jewelry Shop. That's JAM for Justin and Michele. And I stayed in touch with Michele all these years because I just enjoy seeing how she's growing her business and evolving and creating new products and services to help the Etsy community. So I'm really glad to bring this episode back to you. If you haven't heard this episode, I hope you enjoy it. And you can check Michele's website out at mycraftassistant.com, and I will link to everywhere else you can find Michele. So enjoy. Hi there. If you're listening to the podcast, then I assume you're either a maker, a blogger, or you run a creative business. And if so, I'd like you to join me for a conference that's coming up next year. It's the Occation conference. It's held once a year, and it's a 4-day conference that features over 80 hands-on DIY craft workshops, business classes, and social events. It's held from April 27th to the 30th, or it will be held from April 27th to the 30th of 2017 in Ventura, California. Now, Occation is a conference that's put on by Delilah Snell and Nicole Stevenson, and you might remember I've had them on the podcast. They're the ladies behind Dear Handmade Life, and I had them on the podcast in February of 2016, and that's episode 116. If you'd like to listen to our conversation and just learn more about them, please do go back and listen to that episode. And we also talk about the Occation conference in that episode as well. At Occation, what you get are skills that you'll need to start your business if you haven't already, or if you have a business already, take that business to the next level. You'll make longtime friends at the conference and also build your community and support system. It's also a good way to just get together with the creative community and discover or rediscover the inner artist and crafter inside you. Again, Occation happens only just once a year, and every year it does sell out. I believe there are about 400 people that attend the conference. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's not too big and not too small, but it does sell out. So if you're planning for your conferences for the next year and you're trying to decide which ones you want to attend, I would recommend Occation. Again, it's 4 days. It's going to be on the beach, so that's kind of a bonus. And it's specifically designed for creative business owners. You can learn more about this conference at dearhandmadelife.com. If you choose to go, I do have a discount code for anyone who listens to this podcast. You can get $20 off your Occation tickets, and that's if you use promo code Etsy Convo. Again, that's dearhandmadelife.com. Get $20 off your registration if you use the promo code Etsy Convo. But go over to dearhandmadelife.com to learn a bit more about it and listen to episode 116 where I talk to Delilah and Nicole. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Here's the episode.
Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and today I have a very special guest. Usually, I have Etsy shop owners on the podcast, but today I have someone different. She's still related to Etsy, but in a different capacity. And I was really excited when I found out about Michele and what she does. So I have Michele Gallagher. She's the owner of MyCraft Assistant. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Ijama.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Good. I'm happy to have you. And I'm really itching to hear all about the services you provide. And I think it's going to be a really good episode because it's kind of different from what we usually do. So, Michele, tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Okay. I live in Massachusetts. I've lived here for about the last 10 years. When I'm not helping other Etsy sellers with their websites, I'm doing crafting of my own. I love to make jewelry. I have my own Etsy shop as well, where I make gemstone and Swarovski crystal jewelry. I love learning new beading techniques and wire wrapping techniques and perfecting that craft. I'm also learning how to make soap and bath and body products, which hopefully will turn into an Etsy shop one day, but I have to perfect that a little bit more. And then the most exciting thing I have going on in my life right now is that I'm expecting a little girl in April.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, is this your first?
Yeah, it's my first.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. We're very excited.
Oh, I can imagine. Get all the sleep you can now. I'm sure everyone tells you that already.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, so in addition to your Etsy shop, you do Etsy consulting. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do with your Etsy consulting?
Sure. Well, there are basically two big types of services that we offer. One is more teaching people how to run their own Etsy shops and how to get themselves optimized for search engines, get themselves optimized for the Etsy search, how to do social media, things like that, really teaching people how to run their own shops. And then the other class of services that we have is more like an assistant, the people who have other jobs and just don't have the time to really sit down and learn how to do it themselves, and they would just rather have me help them with the business aspect of running their shop while they create.
So then someone can open an Etsy shop, say they don't have time to do certain things that need to be taken care of with the shop. They outsource that to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I'll consult for them, and I can help them edit their photos, list new items in their shop. There are a couple shops where I go in and I relist items for people. I check their convos for them. I run their social media accounts, just all of the nitty-gritty day-to-day Etsy stuff that they just don't have time for.
Okay, so essentially, say I have a craft and all I want to do is make my craft. I can do that and then have you do everything else.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, nice. So how did you progress from selling on Etsy to going into consulting?
Well, I had an Etsy shop in 2008 where I made children's jewelry. And I majored in marketing in college, and I was really familiar with social media and different marketing techniques. And through marketing, I was able to get my shop a lot of exposure. I ended up doing a lot of wholesale orders. The biggest one I had was from Nordstrom's department store, which is actually why I ended up closing my shop. I had to work on orders for them because they were placing very large orders, and I didn't have time to run my shop.
Oh, wow.
And also do wholesale. So after I stopped working with Nordstrom's, I thought to myself, I have the marketing aspect down, but what I really need to learn is more about selling on Etsy and the ins and outs of the Etsy site. So I took a year and I went through and I did tons of research on search engine optimization. I hired outside consultants who really know how to go in and read code They were able to read some of the code in Etsy to give me an idea of how their site worked with search engines, as well as reading other Etsy materials. And I really spent that time learning about the site and how to sell on the site. After that is when I opened up my jewelry shop that I have now, and I wanted to take some time to see if everything that I learned would work. So I put all of my marketing knowledge along with my newfound Etsy knowledge together, and I started the jewelry shop, and it was a success from the beginning, and I've been selling a lot ever since. And I figured, I have all this knowledge, and I want to help other people learn how to do the same thing. Why don't I open a consulting business and teach everybody what I know?
Mm-hmm. Michele, that's really impressive, because I think a lot of people don't do the work up front that you did before you opened your shop. You really set yourself up for success, and it worked. So is that something that you do with your clients now, is before they open up their shop, do you set them up? Do you do all what you did for yourself before you started? If someone comes to you before they open up their shop, is that the kind of thing you would do for them to set them up for success as well?
Yes, exactly. Usually the social media and marketing aspect of running an Etsy business comes later, but I can help them set up their site for search engines up front. So that's less work that they have to do later on, and they're starting off on the right track.
Okay. And is that what you would group under the teaching aspect of your consulting, or would they outsource? Is that something that would be outsourced to you?
It could really be either. I find more people outsource that to me because there are certain aspects of setting up your shop for SEO that only need to be done once.
Okay.
So sometimes people don't want to have to worry about that extra information. The more teaching aspect comes with showing people how to set up their listings correctly for search engines, how to set up their titles and tags for relevancy. We do a lot of reports. So for example, my most popular report is called an Seo Critique. Mm-hmm. Basically what it entails is I'll go through someone's shop from top to bottom, and I write up a whole report for them. It's very easy to understand. It has tons of screenshots in it, and it details exactly where within their shop they have opportunities to increase their search engine optimization. I show them how to choose keywords, what keywords people are using, how to place them in their shop, how to place them in their listings. And I really give them tips on how to do everything themselves. And I give examples from within their shop on how to do it. So this way, if they really, have the drive and motivation to do all of it themselves, they're able to read the report, understand, how everything works. And then when they go to list their own items, they're able to do it in a way that search engines will quickly pick them up and prioritize them higher in searches.
Wow, that's excellent. One of the things I find when I talk to a lot of shop owners is everyone starts because everyone's excited to get their stuff out there, get their stuff online. And that's all well and good. But then when they realize that the sales aren't coming, then everyone goes and, does some research. It always invariably comes back to SEO. How do I get found by the search engines? So that's really good that, upfront. I think that's one of the things that's really valuable about the service you're providing is you're saving people this learning curve and the wasted time of putting stuff on there, paying your listing fees, waiting for sales, not seeing anything for a while, and then finally discovering that this is how you need to do it. So when you're teaching, do you just do it via email where you send the reports and people communicate with you via email? Do you have courses? Do you do webinars, Skype? How do you do the teaching?
The teaching is all done over email. So we have two different types of ways that I can help people learn. The first is through the reports where we go through with the screenshots, and it's very visual, showing people how to do things. I also do actual consulting. So if they have questions afterwards, they can ask me. People buy consulting hours in bundles. And then as they're working on their Etsy shop, if they have questions, they can just shoot me an email at any time. And it falls under this consulting package. And I would just converse with them back and forth over email and help them get through whatever they're trying to do.
Okay, Good to know. Now, is there much competition or is there any competition in this space of Etsy consulting?
There's nobody that I've seen that does exactly what I do. I've seen a few companies who consult for small businesses who say that they also help Etsy sellers. That usually tends to fall under more marketing, but these people don't have an intense knowledge of Etsy and selling on the site. It's more small business, whereas I focus on just selling on Etsy.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I looked to see if anyone, I don't know how I was searching, but I didn't see anyone that was offering exactly what you offer. And I think one of the unique things about your service is that you're also an Etsy seller. You're not coming just from a broad general marketing point of view. You actually sell on the site. So, you need to keep on top of the new policies, and when Etsy changes something, you need to know that to change right along with them. So since you're kind of unique in your space, how do you keep yourself motivated to continue improving the service that you offer?
It's actually really easy. My clients, they are some of the best, most interesting, most creative people that I've ever met. And just working with them and seeing their success really keeps me motivated. When I help somebody open a new shop and they email me the first time that they get a sale, or working with a shop that has been open for a long period of time and, they just feel like they're stuck and they don't understand why they're not selling. And then we work together and then they start selling on a consistent basis. Just knowing that I'm helping these people achieve their dreams and being able to get their craft out there to other people, that's all the motivation that I need.
Nice. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see Etsy shop owners, or at least your clients, make when it comes to selling on Etsy?
There are two major ones. The first one is not knowing who your target market is. I help a lot of people with marketing their items. And one of the first things I'll ask them is, well, who are you trying to reach? Who's your target market? And the answer that I usually get back is, everybody is my target market. My items are, great for everybody. Yeah. Well, that may be true, but to really market and, find your core group of customers, you need to narrow down who you're selling to. And that can be hard for people to hear because, they want everybody to buy their products. They want everybody to see their products. But you can really, by honing in on, a certain demographic or age group or income level, you can really sell more by doing that because you're actually targeting people who will be buying your products. The other thing that people do that I see a lot is that they don't optimize for the Etsy search engine. It's called Etsy Relevancy. And a lot of people know how to add tags to their listings, but they might not know how to do it properly. They might not know how to choose the correct keywords. And with Etsy Relevancy, titles are just as important as tags now. And a lot of people don't realize that. So not being set up for the internal Etsy search engine is something I see a lot.
So does an Etsy shop owner have to set up for both Etsy Relevancy and the largest, not larger, but the other search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing? They're two different kinds of optimization that a shop owner needs to do.
Right. They're two different types. Search engines look at more things than Etsy Relevancy. Etsy Relevancy looks at your titles and your tags, but SEO looks at the keywords within your listings. It also looks at your titles. It looks at your shop announcement. It looks at your profile, your shop sections. It's much broader.
Okay. So are these things that have to be continually tweaked, or once you put up a listing, if you do the keywords for the outside search engines and the tags for Etsy Relevancy, once you do it, you're okay?
Well, in a perfect world, you would always be tweaking and making changes. If you do it once, you can kind of set it and forget it. You're always going to be getting more views and more hits on the item than you would if you didn't do anything. But to truly optimize, there are different ways that you can look at your Etsy shop stats and look to see what keywords are working for you, what keywords are not working for you. Different keywords may trend differently over time. So best case scenario is you're always looking to make improvements for your keywords.
Okay. Now, one of the things I see in the Etsy forums and on team discussions, people say, oh, if you're in a treasury, it gets you more views and then, potentially more sales. How important is being in a treasury to being found and making the sale versus doing your tags properly?
Doing your tags properly is more important because what you're doing through the keywords in your tags and title is you're targeting your exact customer. So if you're selling a pair of pink crystal earrings and you have the words pink crystal and earrings in your tags and somebody finds you through that search, that item is exactly what the customer is looking for. If you're found in a treasury, it can be great exposure and it can mean sales, but usually it's by people who didn't know you existed and found your item and fell in love with your item. So it's kind of two different things. It's somebody who's looking for your specific item through the search versus somebody who just comes across your item and loves it and buys it.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is somebody who really has a passion for the art that they're doing and the craft that they're doing. They love to create. They just don't know how to set up a business and keep the business running. It's somebody who really has a vision in mind, knows that they want to succeed and they want to do well, and they're motivated. They just need help with that extra step of getting their items out there.
Okay. How do you market your services to Etsy shop owners?
My main method of marketing is Twitter.
Okay.
I have over 37,000 followers on Twitter.
Whoa. Actually, I knew that because I'm one of them, but I was so impressed when I saw that number. I was like, how does she do that?
Twitter has been awesome for us. Actually, 70% of my sales come through Twitter or Facebook, people who have found us on social media. So that's been huge for us. And it's really great, too, because it gives me a platform to ask people, what do you need help with? What's confusing you about Etsy? What would you like to see, out there for resources or materials? And people come back and they tell me what they need help with, and I'm able to, formulate new services around what they need.
Nice. So where do you find you get more engagement, on Facebook or Twitter?
Usually Twitter, just because my following on Twitter is a lot bigger than my following on Facebook. Okay. But I've had a lot of luck with both areas.
Okay. So going forward, what's the vision for your consulting business in the future? What direction do you see it going? Like additional services that you might offer?
Well, we just started offering ebooks. The reports that we do, the teaching tools, they're very personalized and in-depth for the actual shop that needs help. But now we're offering ebooks as well to be a really affordable way for people to learn the same information and apply it to their shop. It's just not specific to their shop.
Okay.
We've also been getting a lot of requests lately for help with blogs. A lot of Etsy shop owners also have blogs. Mm-hmm. So I took my husband on as a part-time employee because he specializes in WordPress blogs.
Nice.
So he's able to help Etsy shop owners improve their blogs, get those set up for SEO, and really market through their blog. And then for the future, one of the biggest things that I get requests for that I don't help with currently is a lot of Etsy shop owners want to open their own website that's not affiliated with Etsy to sell their merchandise. Mm-hmm. And I don't currently create websites, but I'd love to take somebody on in the future who knows how to do that so we can help them with that as well.
How soon in the future are you looking to do that?
Probably within the next year or two. I currently have a few people I refer these clients to when they need help, but probably in the next year or two, I'd like to take somebody on to actually do that for MyCraft Assistant.
Oh, good. Great. So everyone listening, if you're interested, get in touch with Michele. She probably has her plate full right now, but at least it's something coming. So as a business owner, Michele, how do you manage your time and how do you advise Etsy shop owners to manage their time?
I always, every day, have a list of goals in mind of what I want to accomplish. So I use Google Calendar. It's been a great way to help me organize myself, and I can list out every day of the week for as far out as I need to, what tasks I need to accomplish to get to my goals. For myself, when I work with a client, I always have a due date that I give them where the work that they're looking for will be done. Mm-hmm. So I have all that out on my calendar, and it helps me prioritize what I need to do when in order to achieve the due date. So that's been one of the ways that I've really helped organize myself. And I think that it would work with Etsy shop owners as well, because if they can, come up with a goal for their shop, they can backtrack and figure out what tasks need to be done in order to accomplish that goal and when.
Yeah. Okay. Good advice. So we know how important social media is for you. How important is it for Etsy sellers?
It's very important for Etsy sellers, but the most important thing is to make sure you're doing it correctly. I've had a lot of Etsy shop owners tell me that they spend hours on social media and they don't see any reward from it, and they're not getting extra sales. And that's usually because they're not using the sites correctly. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's very important, but go in knowing who your target market is, how you're going to reach them, how you're going to engage with them, and really have a plan of how you want to market on these sites.
So what kind of social media mistakes do you see that most Etsy sellers are making?
A lot of people just constantly tweet out items that they have for sale in their shop.
Yes.
So when I look at, one of their feeds, I'll see the name of the item and then a link. And then you look down the feed and that's all it is, just the name of the item and a link for different items in their shop. What they really need to be doing is finding out, well, who am I trying to market to? Okay, what do these people like? And come up with tweets to help engage these customers. Again, if you're selling jewelry, your target market will be interested in seeing your jewelry, but they might also be interested in what are the new trends for the season. What colors are going to be hot this winter or this spring? Mm-hmm. How do I clean jewelry? How do I store jewelry? And by giving all of these tips on your social media account, you're attracting these people who are going to want to buy your items, and they become engaged and they don't feel like you're selling to them. And then if you sneak in every once in a while a link to one of your items, it just helps engage people, and you're a more trustworthy person than just somebody who's constantly tweeting out their own item.
Oh, good. That makes so much sense. And I do see that a lot where most people just tweet out what they're selling, and there's not really that one-to-one engagement or engagement with the community. But speaking about communities, so Etsy is very much about building communities. And so how would you, because they have lots of teams and then there's the forums, how would you advise, or would you advise Etsy sellers to get plugged into the Etsy community? Do you think it's beneficial?
It is beneficial as long as you go in with a plan. Very much like social media, it can be a time suck, and you can spend a lot of time in the forums and the teams and not really get much out of it. So what I usually tell people to do is pick 2 teams that you're interested in. One team should be something that you have a lot of knowledge about and something that you can share and help people with, and another team where you need help. And in the team that you have a lot of information and knowledge about, share your information, look for people who have questions, answer their questions, and really become a mentor to that community. And that helps tie you to people, and it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. In the other team that you've joined that you need help with, ask questions, look for people who are succeeding in the area that you need help with. Talk to people and get mentors for yourself. So this way, you're in the community and you're both being a mentor to people and you're receiving mentors for yourself.
Oh, that's very good advice. Yeah, I think most people's team strategy has not or tends not to be that well thought out. I never thought about it that way, but that makes perfect sense, because then you're more focused when you're what's the word I'm looking for? Communicating, or when you're doing team stuff, I guess. I can't think of the word I want, but that's good advice. How would you advise shop owners to build relationships with their customers so that they can get repeat business? Because you always hear how it's easier to keep a customer than get a new one, keep an existing customer rather than getting a new one. What's your advice?
There are a couple things that I've seen that I really like that people do. One of them is in the shop announcement. I've seen people put, to get 10% off this order, like us on Facebook. Well, I usually just don't like businesses on Facebook, but if they're giving me a discount, I find myself liking the page in order to get that discount. And then I continuously see them in my news feed. I see new items that they have for sale, new promotions they have. That's a really good way to get people to, one, start following you on social media, and two, stay engaged with what you're doing in your new products. Mm-hmm. I always recommend sending out business cards with your purchases, because it's a great physical reminder that you exist and where to find you. Right. And if your product allows for it, sending out samples or little freebies in with your purchase really excites customers and, makes them happy and more apt to come back to your shop.
Okay. Nice. So do you have any specific tips or advice for new Etsy sellers?
For new Etsy sellers, I'd say don't get frustrated and just know that you don't need to be perfect from the start. I know a lot of people that I talk to, they're almost afraid to open an Etsy shop because they don't have everything in order. All you really need to open an Etsy shop to begin with is some really good product photos and some good descriptions of your items. Everything else can be learned. People can help you with it. You can reach out to teams. You can reach out to myself. You could do research online, and you can build up your shop little by little. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until you're an expert in everything, you're never going to get there. So just take small steps and just know it's okay if you make mistakes. You can correct them, and there are people out there to help you.
Okay. And what about seasoned Etsy sellers? What advice do you have for them?
Make sure that you're marketing, that you're getting your name out there. You know who your target market is, and you're really chasing after those people. And then besides that, just make sure that your shop is set up for search engines. It does take a while for search engines to pick up all of the changes you make within your shop once you start optimizing. So if you can start doing that earlier on, that's better. If you can't, that's fine. Just start doing it as soon as you can.
Thank you, Michele. What's the best way for listeners to get in touch with you if they want to contact you?
My website is mycraftassistant.com. We have a contact us link on the page. They can email me directly through the website. You can email me directly. It's info@mycraftassistant.com, or you can reach me on Twitter @craftassistant.
Thank you, Michele. And I'll have all the links to where you can find Michele in the show notes. Thank you so much for speaking with me, Michele. I really appreciated it.
Oh, no problem. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.